This is the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550. And now, here's your host, Sarah Mosen.
It's Friday, folks. It's great to be back here again, and I'm all smiles because I have David Kilgour. How are you today, David?
Oh, fine, thanks. Sarah.
I absolutely love you. You're a great man. You're a great humanitarian. I have to say,
just like you.
I'm trying to keep up.
No, you're not a man. You're not a man. No, great humanitarian. No, you're certainly not a man.
But here's the thing, David. So for all these years, you were so kind to me. I worked for you when you were Secretary of State. You are just a very generous person. You've done so much good, and we're going to have a book that's going to be published. It's called A Gift Is You with an infinity sign, and you were kind enough to contribute as well. So I'm really excited about it.
Well, I hope that it's so hard to know anybody writing a book for you. What on earth are they going to say? How are they going to rise up to what they should rise up to for you? So I hope that the chapter is you were kind enough to say you liked it. I
loved it. I loved it. It was beautifully written, and it's sharing stories with incredible people who've made my life so very extraordinary. And you've made a huge impact in my life because I was an intern. You had me on board as an intern.
It was a pleasure. Every minute wasn't it a pleasure?
It was a pleasure. I've learned the most from you. So you've been my greatest teacher, and you do so much good. You do. You've done a lot. Tell me what you've been up to. Share.
Well, I guess certainly the big thing last week was going to New York for the Peabody Awards, and the film won it. It was called The Human Harvest, and it's a person who won it worked 7 years on it, Sarah. Can you imagine? Mm-hmm. And Leon Lee from Vancouver, and he just moved heaven and earth, and he finally got funding from the Media Fund in Canada, and the film. Some of the you probably know that the people who decide, the judges have to be unanimous. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And one of them told me, he said it was no problem being unanimous on this film. And so I guess it really moved people. And if any of your listeners see it, I think they'll be moved by it too. It's extremely well done.
Right. I mean, you have done a lot too. I mean, you have been very involved in the organ harvesting issue. You have written books. You have been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. You've done a lot, David, and you're constantly moving, constantly. Can you share a little bit about, so our listeners can see how they can be of service and participate in this?
Well, with the human harvest, the thing they can do is just to give you a tiny example, I was at getting gasoline the other day and I noticed there was a car beside me with a diplomatic license plate, and the driver of the car who was filling up his tank looked like he might be from China. So I went and asked him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm from the Chinese embassy." Mm-hmm. So I happened to have a Epoch Times in my car, and so I handed it to him, and they're right on the story that was looking at him was an article how the Chinese embassy had phoned up 10 or 15 MPs and told them not to have anything to do with the Falun Dafa Day in our parliament, which we have every year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, he didn't seem to know anything about it. He took the article. What I'm trying to say is that anybody listening to us must have occasions every week or every month when they can say to somebody from a Chinese embassy or a Chinese business, they can say, basically, why are you killing your own people in order to sell their organs to foreigners and to wealthy Chinese? Mm-hmm. And of course they'll deny it, but the more they hear it from your viewers and all of us, the more they're going to go back and say to somebody that this is hurting us. This is bad PR. It's a crime against humanity, and we got to stop it.
Right.
So anybody can. Sorry to sound like I'm on my soapbox here, but anyone can. So go and Google a report. There's a wonderful new book out now called The Slaughter. And I say wonderful. Basically says that, as you know, it says that Falun Gong, Uyghurs, Tibetans, and House Christians are being are being killed in China
Right.
for their organs, and the organs are being sold. I mean, this is barbaric.
Yes, it is.
I mean, the Nazis did. Well, they didn't have the technology, but it's sort of it's kind of thing the Nazis would have done.
Right.
So yeah, and we're going to. I think we're just about the tipping point. I think the Chinese party state knows this is an outrageous thing. They keep saying they're going to stop it, but then we find they haven't stopped it. So I think we're close to the tipping point. And I honestly think that this award in New York is going to make a big difference
too. A huge difference.
End of spiel.
No, not at all. I think that this is why it's so important to share and have people listen to what is happening. You know, this is atrocious. It's unacceptable. You have always been involved. I remember when, not only as an intern, but when I was with you during your years as a Secretary of State for Latin America and Africa, that we were involved in numerous efforts. I remember East Timor, what was happening in Vietnam, and therefore that is so important to participate, to be a part of the process for change.
Absolutely.
You know, and
can I just add? Sorry, Sarah.
Sure, go ahead.
I was just going to say we had a Tibetan event yesterday, and we have students, Tibetan students, interning on the Parliament Hill with MPs and so on, and you know, just today somebody said that the Tibetans in Germany students had got Germany to close a Confucius Institute. I don't know whether your viewers or listeners all know what Confucius Institutes are, but we've managed to close the one in Toronto schools, and I'm not sure. I think there are many Confucius Institutes in the United States and in Canada.
Right.
And these things are simply propaganda agencies for the government, and they teach things in these things which are outrageous. They discriminate against people, and they hire. And I think the University of Pennsylvania and the University of Chicago have kicked them out, and all institutes of higher or lower learning or any kind of learning should not have these propaganda institutes in their. And the ultimate irony, as I'm sure you know, is that Mao loathed Confucius, and if Confucius was alive today in China, he'd be in jail. Yet they know that most Westerners don't know enough about China that they can pull the wool over our eyes, and they can call these things Confucius Institutes and put out all kinds of garbage and propaganda, and that a lot of schools and universities in your country, or in the U.S. and Canada and around the world will let them come into them, and completely diluting academic freedom. End of soapbox number 2. Sorry.
No, it isn't. And I did learn so much from you, David, over the years because of your humanitarian efforts. I still remember when you were also involved, and actually a friend of mine, Michael Cobalt, was equally involved on this, was with Aung San Suu Kyi,
oh,
you
yes.
know? And so that in itself is about being a part of the whole human condition, to make sure that we are aware of what is happening and not just turn a blind eye.
Yeah, absolutely.
But is there any way people can actually go to your website and reach out to you and also?
Oh, sure. No,
okay.
no. The website's it's just David Kilgour. It's Kilgour. Most Kilgours in the States are ORE, but mine's OUR.
Right.
.com, and you can there's a ton of stuff there, and if anyone, I have 5,000 Facebook friends too, but so I'm just about at the max. But if somebody wants to make a request, I do assess people's requests, and if I see that they're interested in some of the same kinds of issues, I'll often try to make space for them. But the website's got a lot of stuff about a lot of issues.
Right, and it's a real nice place to read and to just ask questions. I believe in asking questions. I also wanted to share something, David, wonderful thing that happened with John McCrae, your great uncle, Flanders Field.
Oh,
the statue that went up.
You know everything, Sarah.
In Ottawa, right? The statue.
They unveiled a statue to him.
Yes.
It was 100 years after the terrible battle where the poem was written, and gas was used, and which is also, of course, terrible. And this poem was written 100 years ago now in Flanders Fields.
Yes, famous.
Is
famous
it used?
poem.
Is it used a lot in the States? I always ask
It
people.
is.
Some people.
I have to say, this is why I posted it. Okay, I posted the whole unveiling of the statue in Ottawa, and
Wonderful.
about John McCrae, Major John McCrae, and I received actually folks here in the U.S. who've said, "Oh my goodness, I had this poem read to me when I was in 5th grade or 4th grade." So yes, it is very
Oh,
well known.
wonderful.
Yes. So
Oh no, that's really wonderful. Well, he was a. Well, again, and he was an amazing man, and he's our
yes.
family hero, and he was my grandmother's brother, as you know, and but I mean, really, none of us can claim we didn't write a word of the poem,
Yeah.
but he is somebody that everybody in our family looks up to, and I guess everybody has nothing but respect for him, and you probably know he's buried in France, and he's one of the victims of the First World War,
Yes.
of which there, I think Canada. I'm trying to think how many people were lost in Canada. Was it 600,000? It was a huge number in the First World War, and he was one of them, and he's he's now even after 100 years, there's now a statue to him. So we were a little slow in Canada doing some of this.
It's beautiful. I did see it, and I'm very happy to hear about it. And I want to thank.
Next time you come, please, I will drive you down, and we'll go and look at it.
It's perfect. Yes, I look forward to that. And again, David, I want you back on again. I just wanted to share with our listeners what you've been doing and how kind you've been. You're just a wonderful human being, and our book that's coming out, and
can hardly wait to see it. I'm sure it's going to be excellent. The rest of it, I don't know about the one chapter, but I'm sure the rest of it.
Yours was beautifully written, and the proceeds are going towards cancer research, so it's for a good reason.
Wonderful cause.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Okay. Well, look, I really appreciate you calling me, and talk anytime you like.
All right. Take care. Yeah.
Goodbye, Sarah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Stay well, folks.
This has been the Mosen Mortgage Program with Sarah Mosen. Mosen Mortgage is licensed in several states for residential and commercial purchases and refinancing. Call 800-662-9550.